we're doing an escorted service for free. We do not charge our members anything. Mobility Matters. We give free rides to seniors and veterans across Contra Costa County for seniors and veterans who need escorted one-to-one door-through-door rides. I always say, look, if you can take an Uber or a Lyft or a taxi, you don't need our service. We are going from the door, walking into the car, making sure that you can get into the car safely.
Welcome to another episode of Spotlight. This is Athena, your host. And today I have David Benet from Mobility Matters. David, I'm excited to have you to share with our audience a bit about what you do and how you support Mobility Matters. As a volunteer coordinator, you have seen and done all things, but I'd love to hear from your end. Just share with us a little bit about what Mobility Matters is.
Sure. Well, first I'm going to correct you one thing. It's Benet.
Oh, Benet. Thank you for all this time. I've been saying Bennett, so I'm glad.
I get it all the time. It's fun.
A Benet.
Yeah.
Trying to eat almost.
Like the things you eat almost.
Yeah. Okay.
But no, it's a common mistake. So Mobility Matters. What do we do? Or
Yeah.
basically, we give free rides to seniors and veterans across Contra Costa County for seniors and veterans who need escorted one-to-one door-through-door rides. And I always say, look, if you can take an Uber or a Lyft or a taxi, you don't need our service. We are going from the door, walking into the car, making sure that you can get into the car safely. You never see like the Uber driver come knocking at your door and be like, "Oh, here, let me escort you to your car." So we're doing an escorted service for free. We do not charge our members anything. Currently, we have around, I want to say about 450 people we take care of in Contra Costa County, and we have about 210 volunteer drivers.
That's amazing. So you mentioned a few things that I want to tap into. Free, Contra Costa County, and door-to-door service. I mean, this is amazing. I'm not quite sure how we're even able to provide a service like this, but we're going to get into that story. Sure. Tell me a little bit about why did you guys even start? Obviously, there was a demand, but who started this foundation or nonprofit, right? And what was the story behind that?
So Mobility Matters actually started as a contact care helpline before I was even born in 1976.
Wow.
And then in 2004, it was a senior helpline. And the thing that happened was people were calling us up and we heard many different things. The biggest things for seniors of what their problems are when we're trying to help them, it's two things really: housing and transportation. Those are the two biggest things. And so Elaine Welsh, my CEO, and she's still here today, and she decided we should tackle one of these. And she picked one and she went, let's tackle transportation. So out came Mobility Matters from a senior helpline.
Wow. Now, you said this is a service that we offer. I'm saying we as if I'm part of Mobility Matters, but this is a service that Mobility Matters offers for free. How is that possible? How are you able to have so many people that you're servicing and you're doing this at no cost?
Well, first of all, we are nothing without our volunteers. I want to just put that out there. We are a nonprofit. We will do whatever it takes to get money to, I am paid staff. We do have a few paid staff, but you do need paid staff to run a program like this.
Absolutely.
But besides that, we get a lot of our money from government grants. Service clubs have given us money. Individual donors. We do a raffle every year. We do whatever we need to do to make the money to have this program, but we do get most of our money from government grants. But like I said before, that money means nothing if we don't have volunteers to actually do the driving. And that's the key component. And we're lucky enough to have 210 volunteers, and hopefully, in a few more years, we'll have 300 or 400 volunteers because the numbers of seniors in our county keep growing and growing and growing and growing. I think they're going to double
Right.
by 2060. I
Yep.
think the population of the seniors are pretty much going to double.
Yeah, it's an astronomical number, and I think we're seeing a huge demand in every area that serves seniors. So a lot of people like yourself were rushing to try to get ahead of this, which I don't even know if it's possible. Um, but you tapped into a few different things. Again, volunteers, obviously, this is a huge part of how you function, and I definitely want to get deeper into that. But I'm going to back up before we even get into that spectrum of the organization. How how do you service your, or how do you pick, I guess, or how do people pick you? How do we know that a senior is a good fit for you and you're a good fit for them? How are they even aware of the services that you offer?
Well, mainly a lot of outreach. We talk to a lot of social workers, a lot of people at caregivers or like home care agencies know about us. A lot of Kaiser, John Muir, all the big hospitals call us, especially for temporary members going to like colonoscopies or doing one-time procedures, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but they reach out to us. We do a number of outreach, like senior fairs. And then once they call us, then we go through our list. We have a big pyramid and we're like, can you drive yourself? Do you need us? And last year we referred almost 6,000 people to other agencies that didn't quite qualify for us because they didn't need an escorted ride. Just because you're a
Mhm.
senior doesn't mean you qualify for Mobility Matters. You must require an escorted ride. So if they don't require an escorted ride, we do refer them to, like, say, paratransit, uh, or we'll refer them to taxis or Ubers, or if they can afford a paid service, we'd like them to use a paid service if they can afford it. But when you're looking at these paid services, for what we do, it would cost for an escorted ride usually around a basic price, about $175 for 4 hours.
Wow. So you're really providing not only a service, a great service, but there's a lot of savings in that. Obviously, I mean, obviously from paid to free, huge savings, but I mean, this is a big expense.
Yeah.
And a lot of people obviously don't have the means to pay for this type of expense. So what you're doing is really important. Tell me a bit now. Mobility Matters. We've been talking locally in the East Bay area, Contra Costa County. Are you in other places?
We are just in Contra Costa County.
Okay. And are
And
there other services like what you do
yes and
in other
no.
places?
There are some other nonprofits. It's very selective and few and far between. So I looked for a service for my father-in-law in Los Angeles, and I could not find one. In Alameda County, there is one that services the Tri-Valley area. So was it Livermore, Pleasanton, Dublin area? And there's one that services Fremont area, but there's nothing that serves the whole county. So no, this does not happen in every county, and they're hard to find. We're lucky that we are here in Contra Costa County, and that's we do get our grants, and a lot of that comes from the county grants. Now, one thing I did want to mention, just so people just don't start calling us, we also do not take wheelchairs. Unfortunately, since we're using our volunteers are using their own vehicles, we can't necessarily take wheelchairs because
That makes
different
sense.
wheelchairs, different sizes, different cars. We don't have, the vans to take wheelchairs. It's really a neighbors helping out neighbors program.
That's really great. So neighbors helping neighbors, your volunteers, and I expect there's certain criteria for being able to be a volunteer. There's certain requirements for your vehicle, obviously insured, things like that. What does that look like if somebody, and I'm going to the volunteer spectrum already, but what does that look like if you wanted to be a volunteer, then how do you qualify and how do I prepare my vehicle to be able to support people that need this transportation?
So if you wanted to be a volunteer, you have to be from the age 25 to 75 years old, first off. That's just because we have liability insurance and we can't afford the higher price liability, just like when you rent a car.
Makes
You
sense.
be a mature individual and be willing to help, have, you know, driver's license, insurance, go through a background check, no DUIs. And you just have to be willing to serve. And, a lot of our volunteers just do one ride a week. And that one ride is usually about 3 hours. And it's actually really easy for people to volunteer because what happens is we send out a list every Tuesday and we say, here's 100 rides for next week. And then you look at the ride list and go, oh, I'm available on Wednesday. And you look on Wednesday and, if you're in Brentwood, we expect that you're going to take like Brentwood, Antioch area. We don't expect you to drive to Richmond to go do a ride. You're taking it, like I said before, it's neighbors helping out neighbors. You're gonna do the ones in your neighborhood, you know?
So we've got, the volunteers that are supporting locally for the most part. I'm going to backtrack back to the type of people who qualify for this, focusing on seniors, obviously people that are in real need and can't be transported in other ways, minus the wheelchairs. What about somebody who's just getting out of the hospital? Um, because then there's certain medical transportation services, right? So you're non-medical, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
We usually pick people up at their homes and take them to appointments. They can't just call us that day and say, hey, I need a ride that day because we're using volunteers. They have to call us Monday or Tuesday of the week before for that ride. So we can't do same day service because we're using volunteers. We're not an Uber or taxi. So people have to call in with their appointments. But I do have to say, I touched on, do have temporary members where people are going in for like a spinal injection, colonoscopy, and they know that they have this appointment where you're not allowed to take an Uber, you're not allowed to take a taxi
Right.
for these medical procedures. And by all means, some of these people are totally capable of driving themselves there, but they can't drive back home. They're not allowed to because they've been under sedation. So
Right.
Mobility Matters does a few of those every single week where we take people to sedation events and the hospitals call us and say, hey, can you help us out for this person? And I want to let you know it's not only seniors that we take, so 60 and above. We also take veterans of any age as long as
Wonderful.
they've been honorably discharged.
Okay, that was my next question. It was veterans. So you do support veterans. I know that there's a big part of your service that really kind of speaks to veterans. Can you talk into that a little bit more? Why veterans? And then, as long as they weren't dishonorably discharged, you said.
As long as they've been honorably discharged
Okay.
and or a veteran. Basically, in 2017, we started our Rides for Veterans program. So we have two programs, Rides for Seniors, that's what we've been doing since 2005, and our Rides for Veterans program, which we started in 2017. And basically, what happened was the VA in Martinez kept calling us saying, hey, can you help out our veterans? Can you help out our veterans? And we thought about it and we're like, yeah, we can. Let's do it. And, they served us, so it's our turn to help serve them. And unfortunately, our veteran program was really supposed to be veterans helping veterans out, but we
Mm-hmm.
don't have enough veteran volunteers. So
Hmm.
we do have senior, or not seniors, we have volunteers taking veterans, but it was supposed to be a veterans taking veterans program. Uh, but we do have don't mind you, we do have a lot of veterans that are volunteers, but we don't have enough veteran volunteers just
Right.
to take veterans.
Yeah, you have a greater demand than you do with the support in that particular area. That makes sense too. There's obviously we in this area, in the East Bay area, there is quite a bit of veterans, but there's still veterans who are working. There's veterans who just can't provide another service to others. So that completely makes sense. We're on the opposing side of that. I think veterans would love to connect with other veterans, but
Yeah.
that can be a challenge. I think it's a challenge in many areas with those veteran services that they offer. Now, we've talked about, ways that people can qualify. Is there an income bracket that somebody has to be within to qualify for the service?
Yes and no. Uh,
Okay.
So the qualifications for someone to get in our program is one, they must need an escorted ride. And we ask them, hey, can you afford to pay for a paid service? If they say yes, then we refer them to them. We don't have like a credit check. We're not checking their finances. We just trust people. That's kind of how our program is. We just go on trust. And so we'll ask them, hey, if you can afford this, please use this because we have limited resources. Uh, and so they must need an escort. And if they can't afford any other option, if they don't have family or friends that can take them, if they can't take paratransit, if they can't use, I don't know, like the Pleasant Hill van or the other little, or not, I don't want to say little, but the smaller ride programs, like the La Miranda Spirit Van's a great one, but
Yep.
it only services La Miranda, and like the Pleasant Hill van's a great one, but it primarily just does Pleasant Hill, where we do the whole county.
In your experience, have you found that people feel demoralized by having to take a ride share program or a program where they're getting support? Or do you feel people are pretty receptive and positive to this type of service?
I would say 99% of the people are receptive and positive. They're just so happy to um, get the service because one thing is, if you can't get groceries, if you can't go to your medical appointments, you can't live on your own. Our goal is to help people age in place with dignity. So, we're going to people's homes, and a lot of times we're the only person they see that week. They're
Mhm.
kind of shut-ins. They cook, they clean, they do everything in their own house. They're really good at, taking care of themselves in their house. It's just when they go outside, they need a little help. And so a lot of times they don't go out without us. And when we take them, this is their one time. My favorite thing is when you see these elderly ladies and they get in their Sunday church best to go grocery shopping. Not because it's like a formal thing, but it's because it's their one time where they get to have human interaction in person for that whole week.
That's very impactful. I know in the senior living industry, I mean, that's something that we really focus on as well. It's a person's mental health, their socialization, because that is super important to our overall health, right? We need to socialize and interact with other people. We need to feel that we have a purpose. This helps us in so many ways. So that makes sense. I've talked to other chef services where there's chefs going into homes and helping seniors to curate healthy, nutritious meals. And the same thing, it's that might be the one time that week or maybe even every 2 weeks that they're interacting with someone. And so that interaction is incredibly meaningful and powerful. And it goes beyond just that transportation, right? It goes into relationship, it goes into that socialization piece and into so much more. So that must be very meaningful for your volunteers as well. It's not just transportation. There's really a purpose above that to help people beyond just the to and from, the back and forth.
Well, let me tell you about a story about one of our members that we take care of. And she has a wonderful daughter, and her daughter takes her to every single medical appointment. And we just take her grocery shopping, not because the daughter can't, because the daughter could, but the senior we're taking wants to feel that independence to get
Mm,
away, not to get away from her daughter, but to have, that feeling of I can still do this on my own.
right.
And she can. We take her grocery shopping and she's fine grocery shopping. She just wants to feel the independence. And that's the kind of mental health that you want, you know?
Absolutely. It's that engagement piece with someone outside of the person that's always helping us all the time. There was something that I was going to ask. You mentioned this was one of your clients' daughters that was helping all the time. Are you getting more calls from adult children or are you getting more calls from the person that actually needs the service himself?
Yes and yes. We get both.
Okay.
But Usually when we'll have the adult children call, we'll ask them to get their parent to call us. Because one of the things that we want to do is we don't, we're not going through the adult child or not child, but
Yeah.
the adult, yeah,
Yeah.
the adult child. We need the senior to call us themselves and talk to us. One thing is it's a mental health check. Before we even someone signs up for our service, we talk to them over the phone. We actually go out to their house and make sure they qualify, make sure they can get to our car. So we'll walk them out to the car, make sure they can do that with minimal assistance. But we want to make sure that our member that's calling us can call us on the phone and ask for rides because
Mm,
we also need to have that mental health check of, well, what if they have Alzheimer's or
right.
dementia? Uh, and we've had to take people off of our program when it gets too bad, where they're calling us and forgetting about rides, and they're like, I don't know anymore. We're not a medical facility. We are lay people. We are just neighbors helping out neighbors. We
Hmm.
are always trying to help people, but when it gets to the point where they need more medical help, and just like we never like boot someone off of our program. We're like, oh, can't help you anymore. We do the next steps where we call the family and try to get social workers involved and help transition them to their next step.
That's great. And, I would imagine that in this scenario, a home caregiver might be someone that's a good next step for support. Um, Tell me a little bit about the people that are out there working with seniors, so professionals who are serving seniors, how they can play an important factor into making sure that whether they're seniors out there that are their clients or they're just people out there they're communicating with, how can they be active participants in sharing mobility matters in a way that is meaningful, but also they're telling the right people, right? And sharing
Mhm.
about the services that you guys offer.
First thing I can tell everyone, it might be, yeah, this might be in reverse, but this does say "Way to go, Contra Costa." We
Yeah.
put out this book every 2 years, and inside this book, and you can go to the website too, which is www.waytogocc.com. But this book basically has every single transportation avenue in the county. And for professionals, what I'd like them to do is don't just send them to us, check out the book first or say, hey, what are the options? Because like I said, if they do call us and they're fit for our program, great. But if not, then we are going to be telling them, hey, you got to go here. And like I said, we referred about 6,000 people last year to other agencies. Uh, One thing I can say, even if they're not sure though, just have them call us. Have the senior call us and we'll talk to them and figure out what the best transportation option it is. If the provider or the person who's helping them don't know and they're not sure, just have them call us and we'll talk to them and figure out what's the best next step for them.
That's perfect. I know, I'm a professional, obviously, who serves seniors, and I work for a senior living organization. In our organization, it's common, we provide transportation services, some of the best in the industry. So it is very rare that a resident of ours would need services. In the case that they do, oftentimes they will take Uber because they can, or they have a home care agency that is providing those services, or there's ride services that they can call, and that we're happy to share that information. So I don't typically share mobility matters with our residents. However, when I'm out at our senior centers and I'm doing presentations, you would be surprised how many times I get the request of transportation services for people who need it and just don't have access to it. I even just last week was doing a presentation at a local senior center. It was Concord Senior Center. And guess who was out there? It was Mobility Matters. And And so it is great to know that there are partners out there supporting our community. And as a professional, I'm equipped with being able to provide those services through my organization, or I can share your services when I know that someone's not a good fit for what we offer or what other professionals offer. So that is a really important resource for other professionals to know. And you are out there, you're very proactive, David. I mean, you're in more events and networking events, just educationally seminars, just everywhere. I blink and you're there, David. You're in more places than anyone else. So I really see a big presence of Mobility Matters. I don't know how you do it. You're just amazing, and I feel like you're like Gumby. You're just stretched everywhere, and doing good and really sharing the word. But we as professionals, we need to help, right? We need to support that. And also that volunteer program, I can only imagine how hard it is to keep up with volunteers. So again, as professionals that serve seniors, just spreading the word about volunteers and the opportunities there. I think I'd love to even go back and tap into that a little bit more, just because I know this is such an important component to the survival of Mobility Matters. It's your volunteers and the people who are actually making this happen. Um, how are people, right now, is it just by word of mouth that people are finding out about the volunteer program, or how can we as professionals go out and help to share the word about Mobility Matters and get more volunteers for you?
Well, one, if you know someone that can spare 3 hours, send them my way. Send them to Mobility Matters website. They can sign up online. I'll give them a call and talk to them. We work well with the volunteer match. Other than that, you know me, I go to so many different networking events and senior fairs, and you will find one of these books in every single senior center in the county. And on the back, it has our information on how to volunteer, how to get a hold of us. So if you know anyone that just wants to do 3 hours a week, send them our way. That's what I could say. One of the things really wanted to say is that I really appreciate the places where you work that do offer transportation, because not all places do. And
Mm.
the places that do offer transportation, it's just so much easier. And, you know, not all transportation is the same, but even just giving some is way better than some of the other places that provide zero.
Yeah. I know this is again a common challenge if you're a senior or an adult child looking for your parent. That is one of the biggest things that you want to look into, is the transportation services. I mean, obviously senior living, people are looking at programming, they're looking at food. Transportation is something that not everybody thinks about, but it is so important and critical that the resident of that community is able to get around to and from doctor's appointments. If they wanted to go out and participate in anything, if they wanted to go to a salon outside the community, whatever that might be, church, a lot of people go to church outside the community, that they have access to services that are readily available for them in that community. So that really is a big piece.
I also want to tell
Mhm.
you, just that just brought to my mind. Uh, we don't go everywhere. We don't take you to get your
Mm.
hair done. We don't take you to go to your buddy Fred's birthday party. Uh, and one of our members asked him if we can take him to Reno, and I'm like, no, sorry, we can't go to Reno. Um, Most of the time, we're just doing life essential needs. Whatever you need to stay in your house to age in place is what
Mhm.
we do. So that's mostly medical appointments, grocery shopping. Sometimes we'll do like financial things. We have partnered with a few churches where they give us volunteers from their church to take their members to church. So we have
Mhm.
partnered with people in the past like that. So I just want to make sure people know, if people are calling us saying, "Oh, I want to go bowling," yeah, we're not the service. But for doctor's appointments and grocery shopping and other life essential needs, yeah, we're there for you. And I really love how in this book we also put it in this year, groceries. So a lot of seniors don't know how to do grocery delivery. And we kind of learned a lot about that, especially during COVID. Like, how do we do grocery delivery? But now, just to let you know, 85% of the seniors that we're taking care of barely do email. if they have an
Mm.
email at all. And it's a challenge for them. I'm hopefully in the next 30 years or so, we're not going to be doing really any grocery rides because people are going to learn how to just type in Safeway or type in whatever,
Right.
and get
Yeah.
groceries delivered.
So are you actually providing the service then to get the groceries for that senior, or you're just taking them to to the grocery store?
So during COVID, we were just getting the groceries for them, right?
Mm.
But after the regulations for COVID stopped, we went back to what we usually did because the seniors wanted it. They wanted to go to the grocery store. They wanted to get outside of their house. So what happens for a grocery shopping trip? We pick them up at the door, help them in the car. We take them groceries. We are grocery shopping with them. We are going up and down the aisles with them. Just picture your own mom or dad. What do? You go with your own mom or dad and you help them with the groceries. That's what our program is. And then, we help them back into the car and get the groceries all the way back into their house.
Well, that definitely creates a better experience, and I feel that your participation in the actual shopping itself more than likely encourages them to actually call again, right? They want to get
Mhm.
out and they want somebody to be with them. They don't necessarily want to be alone. I can imagine that for a lot of seniors who are doing the grocery shopping, they could be quite a bit older and it might be scary for them to be alone, you know? I bumped into an elderly woman while I was grocery shopping, and it was a very nice grocery store. And actually, she turned to me and said, "You must have not been mugged before." And I turned and I said, "Pardon me?" And she goes, "Your purse is right there." And so my little purse was sitting in the little part, I don't know what it's called, the part where the child goes.
Yeah.
And I was looking at fruit and not at my purse. So she actually warned me and she was concerned for me. And in that conversation, she talked to me about how she was scared sometimes to go to the grocery store and she was scared to drive. And so that conversation just brought awareness on seniors aren't, they may go out by themselves, but they may not be comfortable with that. And they are alert. I mean, she was so alert. She wasn't just looking out for herself; she was looking out for me. And I thought it was very cute of her to do that and sweet and considerate. But obviously she was independent and she could do that, and she had a car. But there's so many out there that don't have a car. They can't get out. And not only is it limiting for them because of these challenges, but there's a fear behind that. So you guys providing not only that transportation service but also the accompanying them service is so meaningful. I just commend you guys for being able to do that.
And when seniors get to a certain age, we don't want them driving. We
Yeah.
really don't. Uh, and every year we have at least 4 or 5 members turn 100 in our program.
Wow.
And I always tell actually older adult children, say, hey, have you driven with your dad or mom lately? Next time you actually go out and visit your parents, have them drive you. See how you feel in that situation. If you think that, wait, maybe I'm a little bit scared for them to be driving when I'm in the car with them, maybe it should be time to have a talk with them and take away their keys. And also in California, just by the way, you can do it anonymously. You can call the DMV and do it anonymously, or you go online and you can report someone anonymously. Because a lot of people are like, oh, well, seniors will just hurt themselves. That's not the case. One of my friends was actually run over by a senior walking home with her two kids in the sidewalk, and a person that was 85 years old hit pressed the gas instead of the brake and ran them over in the crosswalk. All of them
Mm.
survived. They're all fine now, but that senior lost her license and she shouldn't have been driving. So this is an essential safety service for us, um, for everyone on the road. This is why Mobility Matters is here, to make sure if you don't have your license anymore, that doesn't mean you lose your whole life. we can still take you. You can still do things.
Yeah, that's an important to note. I know there's also organizations out there. I believe it's CCDC. Um, it's a service that helps seniors to drive safely, but also have those conversations, right? If there's adult children that are concerned about their parent, don't want to turn them in, can't have that conversation with them on their own. They call Melanie
Mhm.
and it's CCDC, right, David?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Melanie
Yeah, they
Hannon.
call
Yeah.
Melanie and say, "Hey, can you have this conversation with my parent because or my loved one because they are aging. I don't feel it's not safe for them or others for them to drive. And they're not going to be receptive to me having that conversation, but I think they may be for you to have that conversation." So there are professionals out there that can help. Before we conclude our episode, I would love for you to share a little bit. Is there any emerging programs that's coming up with Mobility Matters? Anything in the future that you would love to share with our audience?
Well, not emerging programs, but there is one program that we didn't really talk about. We don't really always talk about it, Mobility Matters, but we do have ever since, do you remember the campfire in Paradise?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So out of the 49 people who died, I believe 85% of them were over the age of 60 that died in that fire.
Wow.
So Mobility Matters, we have a emergency response program here. And I used to be a volunteer with the Red Cross doing disaster services. So I'm the disaster coordinator here. So I get um, messages on my phone for every single fire that happens in the area.
Wow.
And one thing that we provide for our members that are in our service is say there's a fire that has an evacuation order. We're going to call them and say, hey, did you know there's a fire in your area? Do you need to help out? And if they need help out, then we will provide help out if it's safe for our volunteer drivers to go, or we'll call the authorities. If we can't get in there, we'll call other authorities to make sure they know that this person is there and needs help out. And not just that, it's not just fires. This is an emergency program. So if one emergency that comes to mind is heat waves and power outages. If one of our seniors needs to go to a cooling center because the power's out and it's just too hot for them, we'll do that too. So I want to let people know we also have an emergency preparedness program with Mobility Matters. To just help our seniors stay safe.
That's incredibly powerful and helpful. In the state of California, we kind of have everything across the board. Fires constantly, definitely heat waves, electricity going out due to those heat waves. So that is incredibly impactful. And I personally will be sure to share that with others. So thank you so much for doing that, David. And thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This has been great.